When struggling single father David Martinez took a bullet-saving CEO Elena Sterling from an assassin, he expected nothing in return. But the next morning she called him her hero and changed his life forever. A story of sacrifice, gratitude, and unexpected love that will touch your heart deeply. Before watching full story, comment below from where you're watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. David Martinez stared at the empty refrigerator, his heart sinking as he counted the few coins in his pocket. $3.47. That was all the money he had left until his next paycheck in 4 days. "Dad, I'm hungry," whispered his 6-year-old daughter Emma from behind him. Her big brown eyes looked up at him with trust and love, completely unaware of their desperate situation. "I know, sweetheart," David said, forcing a smile. "How about we make a game out of breakfast today?" He opened the nearly empty cupboard and found a small box of crackers and half a jar of peanut butter. "We're going to have a special picnic breakfast on the living room floor." Emma clapped her hands with excitement. She didn't know that this special breakfast was all the food they had left. Her innocent joy broke David's heart and filled it with determination at the same time. David had been raising Emma alone for 3 years, ever since his wife Maria died in a hospital due to cancer. The medical bills had destroyed their savings, and David had been working 3 different jobs just to keep their small apartment and put food on the table. He worked as a night security guard at an office building downtown, delivered newspapers in the early morning, and cleaned offices in the afternoon. Despite working almost 18 hours a day, it was never enough. As Emma ate her crackers with peanut butter, chattering happily about her upcoming school play, David made a silent promise to himself. He would do whatever it took to give his daughter a better life. She deserved everything good in the world. "Dad, will you come to my school play next Friday?" Emma asked, her voice hopeful. "Of course, Princess. I wouldn't miss it for anything," David replied, though he wasn't sure if he could get time off from work. After Emma left for school, David sat in their tiny kitchen and looked at the stack of unpaid bills. Rent was due in 5 days, and he was already 2 weeks behind on the electricity bill. The weight of responsibility felt crushing, but he couldn't give up. Emma needed him. That evening, David arrived at his security job at Sterling Corporate Tower, a 50-story building in the heart of the business district. It was 11 p.m. and most of the offices were empty except for the occasional lawyer or executive working late. David made his rounds, checking doors and windows, monitoring security cameras, and making sure everything was safe. The pay wasn't great, but it was steady work, and he was grateful for it. Around 2 a.m., David was walking past the elevator bank when he heard voices coming from the 42nd floor. This was unusual because that floor housed the executive offices, which were normally empty at night. He took the elevator up and found the lights on in the main conference room. Through the glass walls, he could see a woman in an expensive business suit, working alone at a large table covered with papers and laptops. David recognized her from the company newsletter. Elena Sterling, the CEO of Sterling Industries. She was known as a tough, brilliant businesswoman who had built her company into a multi-billion-dollar empire. At 38, she was one of the youngest female CEOs in the country. David was about to continue his rounds when he noticed something that made his blood run cold. Through the window, he could see a man in dark clothing moving carefully along the outside ledge of the building. The man had something in his hand that looked like a gun. Without thinking, David ran toward the conference room. He burst through the door just as the man outside raised a weapon toward the window. "Get down," David shouted at Elena Sterling. Elena looked up in confusion just as the window exploded in a shower of glass. The gunman had fired a shot that barely missed her head. David threw himself at Elena, knocking her to the ground just as a second shot rang out. This bullet grazed David's shoulder, tearing through his security uniform and sending a sharp pain down his arm. The gunman was climbing through the broken window now, his face covered by a mask. He raised his weapon again, aiming directly at Elena, who was trapped beneath David. "You destroyed my company," the gunman screamed. "You ruined my life." David realized this was a disgruntled former business rival seeking revenge against Elena. He had to act fast. Despite the pain in his shoulder, David lunged at the gunman. They fought desperately, crashing into tables and chairs. The gun went off again, and this time the bullet struck David in the chest. The impact knocked David backward, blood spreading across his uniform. But even as he fell, he managed to grab the gunman's wrist and twist the weapon away from Elena. Police sirens were wailing in the distance now. Building security had been alerted by the gunshots. The gunman realized his plan was failing and tried to escape back through the window. But David, despite his injuries, grabbed the man's leg and held on. "You're not getting away," he gasped. The gunman kicked David in the face, breaking his nose, but David held on. Blood streamed down his face, but he refused to let go until police officers burst into the room and subdued the attacker. As paramedics worked on David's wounds, Elena knelt beside him, her expensive suit torn and stained with his blood. "Why did you do that?" she asked, tears in her eyes. "You don't even know me." David looked up at her with fading consciousness. "My daughter, Emma, she needs a world where good people protect each other." Those were the last words he spoke before losing consciousness. David woke up in St. Mary's Hospital 3 days later. The first thing he saw was a little girl asleep in a chair beside his bed. Emma was holding his hand, her small fingers wrapped around his bandaged one. "Dad," Emma's eyes filled with tears of joy when she saw him awake. "I was so scared." "I'm okay, Princess," David whispered, though every breath hurt. "Who's been taking care of you?" "The nice lady," Emma said, pointing toward the door. David looked up to see Elena Sterling standing in the doorway. She was dressed casually in jeans and a sweater, nothing like the powerful executive he had saved. Her eyes were red from crying. "How long have you been here?"
David asked. 3 days, Elena replied softly.
"I couldn't leave until I knew you were okay." A doctor entered the room and explained David's injuries. The bullet had punctured his lung and caused internal bleeding. He had nearly died on the operating table twice. The doctor said it was a miracle he survived. "You'll need several weeks to recover," the doctor explained. "No work for at least 2 months." David's heart sank. 2 months without income meant losing their apartment, falling further behind on bills. How would he take care of Emma? As if reading his thoughts, Elena stepped forward. "Don't worry about anything. I've taken care of Emma, and I'll take care of everything else too." "I can't accept charity," David said weakly. "This isn't charity," Elena replied firmly. "This is a debt. You saved my life, and I can never repay that. But I can try." Over the next few days, David learned what Elena had done. She had arranged for Emma to stay with a lovely elderly woman named Mrs. Rodriguez who lived in their building. She had paid their rent and utilities for the next 6 months. She had even bought groceries and new clothes for Emma. "Why are you doing all this?" David asked during one of Elena's daily visits. Elena was quiet for a long moment. "Do you know what I was thinking about when that gun was pointed at me?" David shook his head. "I was thinking that I was going to die and no one would really miss me. I have employees, business partners, board members, but no one who would sacrifice their life for me the way you did." She wiped away a tear. "I've spent my whole life building a company, making money, beating competitors. But watching you with Emma these past few days, I realized I've never experienced the kind of love you two share." David felt his own eyes fill with tears. "Everyone deserves love, Ms. Sterling. Please call me Elena, and I'm learning that now thanks to you." As David recovered over the next few weeks, something beautiful happened. Elena became a regular part of their lives. She visited every day, bringing books for Emma, flowers for David, and gradually becoming less like a wealthy CEO and more like a friend. Elena helped Emma with her homework, attended parent-teacher conferences when David was too weak, and even learned to braid Emma's hair. In return, Emma and David showed Elena what a real family looked like. "I never had children," Elena confided to David one evening after Emma had fallen asleep. "I was always too busy with work. But being with Emma these past weeks, I finally understand what I've been missing." David watched Elena read bedtime stories to his daughter and saw a side of the powerful businesswoman that probably no one else had ever seen. She was gentle, patient, and genuinely caring. "You're a natural mother," David told her. Elena smiled sadly. "It's too late for me to have my own family. I'm 38 and married to my career." "It's never too late to change," David said. "Look at me. 3 weeks ago, I was just a security guard struggling to survive. Now I have hope for the first time in years." Elena had indeed given David hope. She had not only solved their immediate financial crisis, but had also offered him a job in her company's security department with better pay and benefits once he recovered. But more than the money or the job, Elena had given them something more precious. She had become family. On a sunny Thursday morning, 6 weeks after the shooting, David was finally strong enough to go home. Emma was so excited she could barely sit still as they packed his few belongings from the hospital room. "Elena said she has a surprise for us at home," Emma announced happily. David smiled. Over the past weeks, Elena had become Elena instead of the nice lady. She had seamlessly woven herself into their lives, and David couldn't imagine their world without her now. When they arrived at their apartment building, David was shocked to see a moving truck outside. Elena was directing movers who were carrying furniture and boxes upstairs. "What's all this?" David asked. Elena's face lit up with excitement. "Your apartment was too small and not safe enough. I found you a bigger place in a better neighborhood. 3 bedrooms near Emma's school with a yard where she can play." David stared at her in disbelief. "Elena, I can't accept this. It's too much." "It's not too much for the man who saved my life," Elena replied. "Besides, I need you close by for your new job." "New job?" Elena grinned. "You're not just going to be a security guard anymore. I want you to head up my personal protection team. The salary is $85,000 a year, plus full benefits and college fund for Emma." David felt dizzy. 6 weeks ago, he had been counting coins for breakfast. Now Elena was offering him more money than he had ever dreamed of. "Why are you doing all this?" he asked for the 100th time. Elena's expression became serious. "Because you taught me what really matters. Before that night, I measured success by profit margins and stock prices. Now I measure it by the smiles on Emma's face and the knowledge that good people, like you, exist in the world." She pulled out an envelope and handed it to David. "There's something else. Inside was a legal document." David read it twice before the words sank in. "You're setting up a college fund for Emma? With $200,000. Every child should have the chance to follow their dreams," Elena said softly. "Emma wants to be a doctor, and now she can be." David couldn't speak. Tears streamed down his face as he realized that his daughter's future was now secure. Emma could go to any college she wanted, become anything she dreamed of. "Thank you," David whispered. "I don't know how to thank you." "You already did," Elena replied. "You showed me what a hero looks like." The new house was like a dream come true. Emma had her own bedroom with a princess bed and more toys than she had ever owned. David had a real master bedroom instead of sleeping on the couch. There was even a guest room for Elena, who had become such a part of their family that she stayed over several nights a week. David's new job was challenging but rewarding. He oversaw a team of 6 security professionals who protected Elena and other high-level executives. The salary allowed him to buy Emma new clothes, healthy food, and even piano lessons. But the biggest change was in Elena herself. The cold, ruthless businesswoman had been replaced by someone warm and caring. She had started several charitable foundations, including one that helped single parents in crisis. "I want to find more people like you," Elena told David. "People who are struggling but who have good hearts. I want to help them the way I wish someone had helped me when I was young." Elena had grown up poor, the daughter of immigrants who worked multiple jobs just to survive. Her drive to succeed had been fueled by a determination never to be helpless again. But somewhere along the way, she had forgotten where she came from. "You reminded me," she told David one evening as they watched Emma play in their backyard. "You reminded me that money is just a tool. It's how you use it that matters." 3 months after leaving the hospital, David organized a surprise for Elena. With Emma's help, he planned a special dinner to thank Elena for everything she had done. "Close your eyes," Emma commanded as she led Elena to the dining room. When Elena opened her eyes, she gasped. The room was decorated with handmade cards and drawings that Emma had created, all showing the 3 of them as a family. In the center of the table was a small cake with the words "Our hero" written in pink frosting. "We wanted to show you how much we love you," Emma announced. Elena burst into tears. "I love you both too," she said, hugging them tightly. 1 year after the shooting, Elena made an announcement that shocked everyone, including David. She was stepping down as CEO of Sterling Industries to focus on her charitable work full-time. She would remain as chairman of the board, but she wanted to dedicate her life to helping others. "Are you sure about this?" David asked. "You built that company from nothing. And now I want to build something else from nothing," Elena replied. "I want to build a foundation that helps families like yours." I want to make sure no child goes hungry because their parent is working 3 jobs and still can't make ends meet. Elena had already started the Martinez Family Foundation, named in honor of David's late wife Maria. The foundation provided emergency assistance to single parents, college scholarships for their children, and job training programs. But Elena had one more surprise that would change their lives forever. On a warm spring evening, as they sat in their backyard watching Emma play on her swing set, Elena turned to David with nervous excitement. "David, I have something to ask you, and I want you to think carefully before you answer." David looked at her with concern. "What is it?" Elena took a deep breath. "I know this might seem sudden, but this year with you and Emma has been the happiest of my life. You two gave me something I never thought I could have, a real family." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. David's eyes widened in shock. "I'm not asking you to marry me for love, although I do love both of you more than anything," Elena continued. "I'm asking you to marry me because I want to legally be Emma's mother. I want to adopt her and give her my name if she wants it. I want us to be a real family in every way." David stared at the ring box, his mind racing. He cared deeply for Elena, but marriage, he hadn't even considered the possibility. "I know it's a lot to ask," Elena said quickly, "and I know you still love Maria. I'm not trying to replace her memory. I just want to honor it by taking care of the family she left behind." David looked across the yard at Emma, who was singing happily to herself as she swung. His daughter had been through so much loss and hardship. She deserved stability, security, and love. "What does Emma think about this?" David asked. Elena smiled. "I already asked her. She said she would love to have me as her mom, but only if you said yes first." David felt his heart overflow with emotion. This woman had saved their lives in every way possible. She had given them hope, security, and love. More importantly, she genuinely loved Emma as if she were her own daughter. "Yes," David said simply. "Yes, I'll marry you." Elena threw her arms around him, crying with joy. "Really? Really? But on one condition. Anything. We do this because we love each other, not just because of what happened that night. What started as gratitude has become something real, at least for me." Elena looked into his eyes. "It's real for me too. I love you, David Martinez. I love your strength, your kindness, your dedication to Emma. I love the man who risked his life for a stranger." They kissed as Emma ran over. Having heard the commotion, "Does this mean Elena is going to be my new mommy?" Emma asked excitedly. "Only if you want her to be," David said. Emma jumped up and down. "I want her to be. I want her to be." 6 months later, David and Elena were married in a small, beautiful ceremony in their backyard. Emma was the flower girl, wearing a princess dress that Elena had specially made for her. The guest list was small but meaningful. Mrs. Rodriguez from their old apartment building, David's co-workers, a few of Elena's close friends, and the doctor and nurses who had saved David's life. But the most important moment came when Elena officially adopted Emma, making her Emma Martinez Sterling. "I promise to love you and protect you for the rest of my life," Elena told Emma during the ceremony. "You are my daughter in every way that matters." Emma hugged her new mother tightly. "I love you, Mama Elena." David watched this exchange with tears in his eyes. His daughter now had 2 mothers, Maria, who had given her life and loved her first, and Elena, who would love her and guide her into the future. The Martinez Sterling Foundation was growing rapidly, helping hundreds of families across the country. Elena had found her true calling in life, and David had found a partner who shared his values and his love for his daughter. On the 5th anniversary of the shooting, David stood before a crowd of 500 people at the foundation's annual gala. Emma, now 11 years old and confident beyond her years, sat at the head table wearing a beautiful dress and beaming with pride. Elena sat beside her, no longer the cold businesswoman she had once been, but a warm, loving mother and wife who had found her purpose in helping others. 5 years ago, I was a security guard who could barely afford to feed his daughter, David told the audience. I made a split-second decision to protect someone I didn't even know, not because I expected anything in return, but because it was the right thing to do. He looked at Elena and Emma. That one moment of courage changed 3 lives forever. It taught us that heroism isn't about being perfect or having superpowers. It's about being willing to help others when they need it most. The foundation had now helped over 2,000 families, provided college scholarships to 150 students, and created job training programs in 12 cities. But the most important thing we've learned, David continued, is that families come in all shapes and sizes. Sometimes the people who become your family aren't the ones you're born with, but the ones who choose to love you. After the gala, the three of them sat in their backyard under the stars. Emma had fallen asleep between them, her head on Elena's shoulder. "Do you ever regret it?" Elena asked David quietly. "Saving me that night? Your life was simpler before." David looked at his daughter, sleeping peacefully in the arms of the woman who had become her mother. He thought about their beautiful home, Emma's bright future, and the thousands of families they had been able to help. "Never," he said. "That night I thought I might lose everything. Instead, I gained everything I never knew I wanted." Elena smiled. "You know what the best part is?" "What?" "Emma will grow up knowing that heroes are real. She'll grow up knowing that one person can make a difference in the world, and someday she'll make a difference too." David nodded. "She already is making a difference. She reminds us every day what we're fighting for." As they sat together under the starlit sky, David realized that sometimes the worst moments of our lives lead to the best chapters of our stories. A single act of courage had transformed not just 3 lives, but thousands of others as well. The bullet that nearly ended his life had instead given birth to a new beginning for everyone it touched. 10 years after that life-changing night, Emma Martinez Sterling graduated as valedictorian of her high school class. She had been accepted to Harvard University on a full scholarship, where she planned to study medicine. At her graduation party, Emma stood up to make a speech. "When I was 6 years old, my dad taught me the most important lesson of my life," she said, looking at David and Elena. "He taught me that heroes aren't people with superpowers. Heroes are ordinary people who choose to do extraordinary things for others." She paused, wiping away tears. "My dad saved a stranger's life and almost lost his own. That stranger became my mother and saved our lives in return. Together, they built something beautiful, a foundation that helps families in need and shows the world what love looks like." Emma smiled at her parents. "Now it's my turn to carry on their legacy. I'm going to become a doctor so I can save lives just like my dad did. And someday I'm going to help run the foundation so I can help families just like my mom does." The crowd erupted in applause, but David and Elena only had eyes for their daughter. She had grown into a remarkable young woman, kind, intelligent, and determined to make the world better. "We did good," Elena whispered to David. "We did great," David replied, pulling both his wife and daughter into a hug. And as they held each other close, surrounded by friends and family and the community they had built together, David knew that the scared single father counting coins for breakfast was gone forever. In his place stood a man who had learned that true wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in the lives we touch, the love we share, and the hope we give to others. The hero's journey had come full circle, and it was beautiful.